So let's start from where we last left off, and I want to do the same thing with these expressions where I'm printing these expressions out, and now I want to take those expressions and print them out inside of attributes. So what I'd like to do is create a strong element, and I'd like to create that 5 times. So now what we need to do is go ahead and take a look at adding classes to each one. So we're going to have the class attribute. Now, what happens when I try to just, let's say, access a property like MSG? So the first one that I did here. What happens? Well, if I go ahead and save it and then I inspect this and take a look at it, you'll notice that they all say MSG. And that's because we're not using any directives. And what we're actually supposed to use is the vbind directive with the colon. What this tells Vue is that whatever comes after this colon is going to be binded. So whatever the value is here, it wants to look in the memory. It wants to run this as a JavaScript expression. So now when I hit inspect on the first strong tag, you'll notice it actually says welcome to your VueJS app. So that's what the vbind directive does. It lets us use JavaScript expressions as the attribute's value. The shorthand version is just using the colon, which is far easier and much quicker, so it's less syntax. It does exactly the same thing. So there you can see it's doing the exact same thing. So I can go ahead and apply that to all of these. And don't forget, you can do this with any attribute. It doesn't have to be the class attribute. It could be an ID attribute. It could be a data attribute you've defined yourself. But what about all these other expressions? Well, you can do that too. It's the exact same thing like we were doing down here, but instead of printing this out to the user, all we are doing is we are simply printing the value out in the attributes value. You can see we have the standard message, then you have the message that we reverse, then you have the mathematical expression, then you have the person's first name and last name, and then also you can access an array as well. So now if I take a look, right click and inspect, you'll see that inside of here we have the message, we have the reverse message, we have the object properties being concatenated together, and also the array. And very cleverly, I missed out one. You might be going, Loz, why is that? You told me I could do the exact same thing. Well, yes, you can. However, please do note that attributes need string type values printed inside of them. These are all string types in JavaScript. Now notice this mathematical expression will return a number data type. Now it's not automatically going to convert that into a string. So what you need to do is do your expression first. So let's wrap this in parentheses. This all gets done first. So it does all the maths bit. And then I say plus and the single quotes. And so if I take a look at this and copy this out, I'm just going to save that. And then we're going to inspect. And then if you take a look, you'll see that we have 511 value. So binding attributes is very simple. You target the attribute that you want, you put in the colon before it, and then you type in whatever JavaScript expression you'd like. And there's one more thing. What happens with classes where you want multiple classes? You want to have a lot of expressions going off inside of one. Well, that's where the array comes in. So here again, we're going to say bind data define attribute. So a different attribute this time. So I'm going to say equals, and then I'm going to paste this array of expressions. So we're defining an array, and we have each one of the expressions we had previously. So we're executing all of these expressions for one data attribute. Go ahead and save it. And here it is, data define, and it's executed it all. It's got the standard message, then we've got the reverse message, then we've got the number, then we've got, for example, Lawrence Turton, and then also you have Joe as well. And also what's really interesting is you can change these commas right here, because you can in fact take a look at this JavaScript expression. Now what can I do to get rid of that? Well, you can tell it to join. That's what it's doing. It's joining all these expressions together once it's finished. I can run this method, and what we can do is we can add in either a space, so that will get rid of those commas right there if you didn't want those in the value, so like that. Or you could, let's say, if I come over here, you can add a hyphen hyphen, and you can see that it adds the hyphen between each value. So this is a really great framework. It lets you print out stuff to the user, which is using the standard curly braces. We can still have this as well. So if I uncomment that out, and I also uncomment these out and save it, and there we have it. So it updates, and now we've got the content in there as well as the attributes, which are sort of hidden to the user, but it is available in the HTML. Now your job is to copy what I've done here, but I have provided the source code, but I don't want you to just download the source code. I want you to actually repeat what I've done here, use the colon for the data binding, maybe use a few different attribute types, and also what I'd like you to do is change those values again. So target the pre-element, which has the view object on it, and modify the values, and watch the values update not only with the text to the user, but also the attribute values. That's your assignment.